Hello everyone. It's the day after the North London derby. Where shall we begin? Let's go with the game first and foremost. It was a good game of football. It was a cracking derby. It was a hark back to the early days when both teams were very equal in terms of league positions and team, in terms of players, which we haven't had on both sides for a little while. The Emirates Stadium was pumped up for it. Tottenham came to play football as we thought they would, and we were ready for them. New system, we go on at 3 at the back at the beginning, which I think threw Tottenham off, but the only real major surprise for me was Ozil before the match, but we found out that apparently he had back spasms. So it just everything that all those bits and pieces were. Sorry, I'm trying to be measured about it, and I don't know if I should be or not. But look, let's put cards on the table at the beginning of the video. It is only for 3 points. When you look back at it, yes, you're caught up in the emotion of the day when we was on it, and I was WhatsApping my mates and 2 Gooners and 1 Spurs fan in there with us, and obviously as Sol Campbell would say, the banter was lovely. Nothing too vicious though, because we're not those sort of fans with each other. But you get caught up in it and all that sort of stuff. And so that's why I decided to do the video a couple of days afterwards, because I wanted to try and be, like I say, measured about it and look back at it a bit better, a bit calmer. But I don't know if you can be calm about a North London derby, especially a win like that. So let's try and start from the off. All right. Before the match, I'm trying to be measured. I'm trying to find the right words. Tim Sherwood and Paul Merson. All right, let's have a little word for those two absolute clowns on this. This whole combined 11 anyway. I mean, it's a nonsense. It's like buying a half and half scarf, and you don't do that. Although there were people buying them before the ground. I mean, you don't buy an Arsenal Spurs half and half. If you're in a cup final, European Cup final, or a UEFA Cup, something like that, then you might buy one as a memento. You certainly wouldn't wear it, but you don't do it at a North London derby. But as is media consumption nowadays, which is ridiculous because I'm doing this myself, but the airways have got to be filled. Sky Sports obviously have got so many channels now, they've got to put some kind of content out, and they decided to get Tim Sherwood and Paul Merson to talk about the Arsenal Spurs game. Now, Paul Merson, if you've ever read Rock Bottom, you'll know that he's a Chelsea fan anyway from the off. Grew up in Ealing. So now that he's not affiliated, so to speak, if you like, with Arsenal, then there's no reason for him to be positive about them in any way. And if you actually ever listen to any of his spoutings on Twitter or Sky or whatever, he barely has a good word to say about them. When we drew 1-1 Liverpool, it was the whole okay, take my hands back, hold my hands up and take that back. What I said about him, but then he comes out and says that there's only 2 Arsenal players that would get into a combined 11. It's just I forget who said it, but there's someone on Twitter tweeted the Tuesday Club Twitter feed at Yellow Boots On. For those who want to go back and listen to all their old podcasts, they're brilliant. Alan Davies and the boy, Ian Stone, Ty Papula, and Keith L. Presidente Dover. Always worth listening. They're very funny, very, very funny. Dynamo Gooders. But this guy, I'm really sorry, I can't remember who it was that tweeted them, but if you go through it, it was on one of the tweets that the Tuesday Club put out about Tim Sherwood surely can't get a job as a manager anymore after mainly just calling Aubameyang, and Lacazette. He kept calling for some reason, calling him La Gazette, like he's some sort of newspaper in French, La Gazette. Yeah, apparently this guy who tweeted them said that he got his tried to get Tim Sherwood's autograph after a game in '98, and it took him 10 minutes or something to work out how to take the top of a biro off. So that's what we're dealing with. That's the sort of level we're looking at there. And he picked. Oh, I mean, just the pair of them to pick Eric Dyer over Torreira anyway. Yes, all right, I get it. Eric Dyer's been in the league a lot longer, but you only have to look at Torreira to realise he's a double the player that Eric Dyer is and will be. So we had all that going on anyway. You've seen it all, you've heard it all. It's all a nonsense. It's all just, like I say, just to try and draw listeners, clicks and views and all that sort of stuff. You know, it's basically trolling Arsenal or Spurs players, fans, to get them to watch the show, call in and do what they want them to do. And we bit. I did. I have. I still am, because I'm that sort of a guy. So we had all that beforehand, and then when the game kicked off, beforehand I said I wanted the same sort of intensity that we showed against Liverpool. So much too easy to do when you're at home, so you know I will concede that. But we did. We started off with that sort of pace and power and drive, and that was what we were after. And Spurs couldn't cope with us. I want to say, is it Serge Aurier? Their right wing back, right back player. You know, not a good game for him. Not a good game at all. And then to put him alongside Foyt as well. I mean, to put him in his first North London derby with Aurier there, I think it needed a stronger one of the two. You know, you could have one and not the other, but to put them both in, I think was a really strange choice from Poch. And you know, you would have heard all the stuff about Vertonghen and Alderweireld not playing, but we exploited that, and that's what good teams do. And maybe again, we keep saying it, we can't really be sure, but maybe under Wenger we wouldn't have exploited it quite so much. Maybe we wouldn't have had the players to do that. I mean, yes, he had Aubameyang, was his last signing for the club, but. It sort of didn't feel like the sort of the tactic that Arsene Wenger would do is, you know, just specifically attack that one side, and that's what it felt like we were doing. There was when we switched the play over to that side before the ball went out for the corner for the penalty that led to the penalty in the end. It definitely looked like a tactical thing, and that's where I think we've changed this year under Emery. I think he's got tactical nous, you know, little tweaks and things that he looks at and he asks his players to go, right, this is what we're going to do. I've seen this is what we're going to do, and this will help us out. And yeah, Spurs just couldn't live with us. But you know, they were probably told try and keep it tight. They obviously had a game plan. They're away at the home of their closest rivals, despite what Pochettino says, you know, which he claims that Chelsea are. But then they slowly started to get a foothold in the game. Now, Son, on the day, he was, for me, he rivalled Dele Alli as a figure of hate. Now, I can get by with Son. I can sort of get on board with him. I said before the game, you know, that the Chelsea game when Jorginho let him run, and I can't remember what one of David Luiz just let him. It was a half-arse challenge, you know, before he scored that wonder goal. I said before the game that he wouldn't be able to do that against us. Now he did have a couple of good runs, and I don't think he dived for the free kick. And I'm going to put that blame. I don't think we should have conceded that goal. It was a decent free kick, decent ball in, a decent header from Dyer. They reckon he was offside. It's tight, but I think Bernd Leno should have done better at his near post from that sort of header. And I'm also going to say, despite what I put up on Twitter, I haven't got a problem with Eric Dyer actually shushing the crowd. Do you know what I mean? It's North London derby. All the Arsenal fans that were getting bent out of shape have got to remember that we've got a statue outside the Emirates of Thierry Henry doing a knee slide when he'd run all the way down one side of the pitch to score the goal, and he says it. He deliberately ran all the way down the other side just to celebrate in front of the Spurs fans, and we all love that. We got a statue outside of him in that pose, and we went mental when Adebayor ordered it again for us. I mean, we coated him for the whole match when he was playing for Man City, and pretty much when he was playing for Arsenal as well. And then I think he's got every right to do that. And I think Eric Dyer had every right just to go, shh. I mean, it's stupid. It's made it 1-1, you know. It's not like he's just scored the winner in the 89th minute or something. But then to get involved in the way he did with the other players, that was stupid. And, you know, I've put the meme round, but you do that, you do it when you're 2-1 up or you've just made it 3-1 or something. I mean, like I say, I haven't actually got a problem with the actual act of shushing the crowd. It's a wind up. We've been winding up. What do you expect? You know, I love it. I tweeted my friends doing it and said, you know, a bit of needle, loving it, loving the needle in the North London derby. That's what we needed. And I have to say that I thought Mike Dean handled that bit really well. Not too many cards dished out. It was a great spot for the handball. I don't know if it was him or his assistant referee that called it, but it was a great spot for that. But then it just felt like he was trying to level it up. It became the Mike Dean show, and you knew that he was going to give that penalty, and he didn't touch him. I don't care. He didn't touch him. There was no contact there whatsoever, or even if there was minimal. And I don't get this whole, as long as there was intent. Well, that means every single tackle is a foul, because how can you tell that there isn't going to be intent to take a player down? So, yeah, there was a penalty, and Harry Kane scored it, and I think that was probably his last meaningful touch in the game. Honestly, it's not a Arsenal Spurs thing. He's a brilliant number 9 or number 10, whichever, you know, he wears the number 10, but he's an old-fashioned number 9 striker. But he needs better players around him, Harry. And he's not the best striker in the world. And yes, he got the World Cup Golden Boot, but they were all from dead ball situations apart from one open play, and that bounced off him. He didn't really know much about it, which is fine, not a problem with that. But I'm not having it that he's this super striker. Even last week's goal against Chelsea, the Chelsea players backed off him and just went, well, have a go, have a pop, lad, see what it's like. Obviously I'd still like him in and around the squad because he's that sort of a player, but I don't think he'd fit in the Emery team, to be honest with you. So yeah, 2-1 down at half time, which meant we continued this never having won at half time in the league, which is really important for some reason, and I don't know why. But it is. It's really important to all the people that watch an Arsenal match, all the people at Sky or BT Sport or whatever channel they seem to be on at the time. It's really important to them that we win a game at half time, because that's when it counts. So yeah, going at 2-1 down, and whatever Pochettino says to his side at half time works, doesn't it? Because we came out again. Spurs honestly didn't get another foothold in the game for the rest of the match. Changing it was brilliant. Aaron Ramsey showing Eric Dyer. Again, you've seen it all. If you haven't, Aaron Ramsey's Instagram post is brilliant. It's him sticking his tongue out. He's just sat on the pitch and he just said, hashtag sit down, he said, because that's what Eric Dyer told him to do, is sit back down on the bench like Eric Dyer's world class. And Aaron Ramsey's done nothing with his career. But Aaron and Laka made such a change to our team. We obviously changed it up, and Spurs didn't cope with how we'd changed our formation. And so they were sort of suckered into it a little bit. And I think that's where Pochettino lets himself down. I don't think he's very reactive to the situations around him. lovely little bit of irony that it was Eric Dyer that the goal came off to give us to get us back in, to give us the lead. Aubameyang's second goal, and do you know what? A 2-1 down as well. I wasn't panicking like I would have been last year, and I'm not. This is not a Wenger thing again, but there's something there now about this side that I didn't think we'd go on and win. I predicted 2-2 before the game, and I thought that we would end up being 2-2. So I was always fairly calm and confident that I didn't, because I hadn't really seen what Spurs had offered us, had offered going up front, and I knew that we would create another couple of chances at least, and one of them would fall and go in. Aubameyang's goal was sweet as a nut. So that made it 2-2, and then Lacazette's one, like I say, the lovely little irony of it bouncing off of Eric Dyer just to go past the goalkeeper. At first I was blaming Lloris on that one, but I think the little nick probably pushed it a direction just a fraction out of where he was diving. And then Torreira stepped forward, he beat Dyer to the ball and finished really well, to be fair. And I think, to be honest, that the wind had gone out of Tottenham's sails by that point, so I don't think it was a matter. I think it was just a matter of, they've done it again, scored again. I meant. So yeah, that just put a bit of gloss on it, really. I think they probably stopped trying after 3. To be honest, I thought they just thought, oh come on, it's getting close to the end. Let's just get out of here now. It was nice to see it. I don't know how many people would have seen it, but at the end, after them, as they were walking off the pitch, Socrates went over to Son and was giving it that, and he went, and Son just went like this. He knows he dived, and VAR coming in next year will change a lot of that, which can only be a good thing. So yeah, it was just a derby, an old school derby. It just felt like it had all the old ingredients, and atmosphere and everything, and it was just lovely to see. And I think we over-egged it a little bit towards the end. Like I say, it was only 3 points. It is only December, so let's see what happens in the new year. But so all the dancing and Sweet Caroline and that off the pitch. Obviously, you're gonna enjoy it because you're just beating Spurs, but you've got to put it into perspective as well. It's just another 3 points at the moment. Let's see what happens when we go back to their place, because last year we won at ours and lost at theirs, so they're going to be bang up for that sort of revenge. But yeah, loving every minute of it, and it was very nice to go to work on Monday morning. I had a Tottenham fan come up to me and say, your defence is shit, no, sorry for the language, your defence. I was like, hang on a minute, we just beaten you 4-2 and you barely did anything to threaten us. Let's not have that. Obviously, goes without saying that I'm not even going to mention the thing with Aubameyang. I don't need to. The guy was a moron, and he's managed to somehow half get away with it, which I'm not happy about. And that was it. Just a lovely winter's day with a North London derby. And now we have Mourinho coming up. And this one worries me a little bit more than the Tottenham one. And I'll tell you why, because Mourinho always seems to be able to get a result, Hang on a minute. Alexa, off. Wow, that was weird. Just kicked in. Alexa, off. How bizarre. Yeah. It shows you how far times have changed. Sorry, that's really thrown me. Shows you how times have changed now. That getting a 2-2 draw against United means you lose your job as a manager. But that's what's happened to Mark Hughes. To be honest, I think Southampton will be quite pleased. I don't want him in the league anymore. I think he's a boring, negative manager, and football's passed him by. And Mark Hughes wasn't much good either. Yeah, Mourinho. at Old Trafford, it's going to be a different animal. This is going to be another one of those games. It's a bit of a marker we need to put down and say, look, this is where, you know, it's all right doing it against Spurs at home. Again, I'm going to make the concession it was at home. But we need to do a performance like that as well. That's why I'm trying not to get too carried away with the NLD. It was good on the end of the day, but you know, in terms of the league, if we do the same sort of performance and get a win against Old Trafford against Mourinho, Man United, then you can start to say, okay, we're doing all right. We're good. We're in a good shape. We are in a good shape anyway. But Mourinho's tactics, he's going to try to make sure we don't win. And I don't mean that's obvious, but what I mean, he's going to make even a draw. You know, he's one of those sort of. He's that we all know what sort of manager he is, and he's fallen out of his players left, right, and centre again because it's Martial's fault, or it's Rashford's fault, or it's Pogba's fault. But behind closed doors, we don't know. You know, he's going to be bang up for trying to get one over on Arsenal, and it's nice for us to not have Wenger there anymore because Wenger had that mind block, I think, with Mourinho, and Mourinho had the Indian sign over him. So it's going to be interesting to see what Emery does with him. No team news so far, and that's annoyed him apparently because we didn't do it last time, and it affected him when we had Lacazette in or something. I don't know what it was, but he's a horrible little windbag. So Mourinho, not not Lacazette. So yeah, that'll be tomorrow. That's Wednesday. There'll be that game will be on. Sort of kind of looking forward to it. I'm not really sure. Man City won again on Tuesday evening. I can't see anyone challenging them for the title. It's their title. I just don't want them to go unbeaten. I'd like them to. I think the hardest thing will be once they've wrapped it up, that's when you start to lose games because your mind wanders. Like, we don't need to try in this one, or we can just steamroll the teams because that's what we've been doing. And if they come up against a team that's fighting for points, then that's when you start to drop points. And that's where probably they might lose a game there, especially if they're in the Champions League into their deep stages. Then that's when it starts to kick in. But all in all, a lovely North London derby. A trip to Mourinho's Man United afterwards is never fun, but at any time. But to do it after a North London derby, at least we've got our tails up. I would imagine that Ozil will play in this one, but if he doesn't, I don't suppose Mkhitaryan will start this time. I think Ramsey will start. I've heard rumours that Ramsey and Arsenal are sitting back down around the table again. That would be good if we can get him tied down to a contract because it's gone again. Alexa, off. I have to turn that off. So there we go. That's the end of the video. Thanks for listening again. Cheers.